Welcome to Cruise Kibitz, where we give you all the advice that you didn't ask for. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Cruise Kibitz. My name is Kiki, and I'm from Team Reach Travels.
And I am Cheryl, also known as Sick Cruiser.
And I am Siobhan from Parkers on the Go.
And together, the three of us make Cruise Kibitz, but as you can see, we have a fourth person on the screen with us today. We have Miss Carlene Reid here, aka the Couch Cruise Queen, Captain C. Listen, she got a lot of names. I want to ask her to introduce herself. Our lovely guest, Miss Carlene. Can you tell us who you are, what you are? Tell us about your channel, all the things.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Carlene Reid. I am the personality behind See It With C, which is a solo cruise and travel channel on YouTube. Basically, it all started with a friend, just a couple friends actually, in two different moments telling me I needed to start hitting record on my travels. So I did, with the bulk of it being cruising, because I think that's kind of the hook. But hopefully wanted to expand my wings more and start turning on the camera to show people what it's like off the ships as well into these countries. So that's me.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for being here with us. We are so excited to be able to chat with you today. We got a lot of questions. So we glad you already mentioned cruising and destinations, because we're going to ask about all of it. Look, she got answers. I love a lady who answers. So why don't we start off with this question? Can you share some of your favorite cruise destinations and why they stand out to you?
Sure. So I would say probably my favorite cruise destination is Aruba, often because that port has an extended stay. When I cruised to Aruba, I stayed until like 11 p.m. I've also flown into Aruba back when I feel like I'm dating myself, when Sinbad used to have the whole Soul Beach Festival in Aruba. I had the opportunity to go to that. That was cool. So I would say I like that destination because I'm a water baby. I love being on the beach in the water. I'm very particular about water. I have to be able to see my feet. So if it's a beach like that, Aruba provides that kind of vibe. So I appreciate, definitely Aruba is probably my favorite destination. But anywhere that's not DC, not that I don't love my hometown, but I'm kind of like, I want to go see places, and then I'll determine if I really like it or don't like it. But if I had to pick a favorite, I would go with Aruba. I need another itinerary that has all three. I've done Aruba and Curacao, so I need to get to the B, the Bonaire.
Same here. I'm trying to get to the B too. I ain't made it there yet. But Cheryl was just there, so why don't you go with the next question, Cheryl? Because I know you were around. Did you go to Bonaire too? I think you went to Aruba.
Yeah, I did go to Bonaire, and the same thing. I had been to A and C, and finally got a chance to go to Bonaire. And it was just one of those things I just needed to check off the list. So I was able to do so. Yeah. But I have another question. So, speaking of cruises, how do you approach planning your solo cruise itineraries, and then especially with visiting multiple countries?
Sure. So I am a ship girl. I appreciate the ships because I think that's what makes cruising unique from land-based travel is this big floating vessel with all the colors and the live music. When you go land-based, you got to okay, let me go research to see, what's the night spot going to be? Do they have live music? Is the band going to be good? Whereas cruising, you walk 3 minutes down a promenade and you can see, is it going to be salsa dancing tonight? Is it going to be karaoke, or is it going to be, the nightclub or the casino, or something going to be people watching, in a chair somewhere. So I am definitely a cruise ship girl. Then I would say my next thing would probably be price, because solo, we pay the solo tax. And even though people say that they're trying to make these deals and accommodations for solo people, it still the math doesn't make sense. I've literally had, you are welcome. I have had, I remember, I'm a pick on Norwegian. I had and I love all the ships, but I remember when I got on Prima, it was cheaper for me to get a balcony than to get the solo lounge experience. And that room gave me more space. So it's like, well, I'll just see the solo cruisers out and about on the ship because I'm going to take this more space and a cheaper price. And then last I would say then would be like the experience. So I also kind of like, because I can be all over the place and I'm the person that if you hit me up and be like, let's go on a trip, I'm probably going to say yes. I might then have to turn around and be like, wait, do I actually have the money for it? I don't know. But I'm probably going to say yes. But I have to organize myself and like make travel goals. I think that has really kind of helped focus me a bit. So that way I'm not saying yes to everything and can budget appropriately. So my thing now is like I set goals. So I am like, my current goal is to get platinum on Carnival. I'll be that and I have 2 more cruising days. So my next Carnival cruise, I'll be platinum. So then my next thing is, okay, I want to do all Royals big ships. And then I think I'm leaning towards like, can I get through the Disney 5 or 6 ships like that? That kind of helps, like, you know, and then it also gives me an opportunity, like if a group cruise pops up or banging itinerary or a really cheap deal, I can still slide that in and then still hit my goals. So that's kind of how I tackle very type A way of going at it, but it works for me.
You try to balance between actual solo cruises and then like the group cruises that you do.
Yes, Lord. Because I'm an only child. You know, I always say that also keeps me in level for the adventure piece. I always say I'm a mama's only child. But also part of that is like, you know, I'm meeting folks like y'all. So when, you know, all the group cruises are rolling out, I'm like, yeah, you know, I want to go hang, you know, with like Cruise Kibitz on a ship. And then, you know, I've done most of the MSC group cruises. There's some others that like I would love to get on this life with ours, but I have to wait to get the Disney coin, you know. But, you know, there's a few folks that I would love to like hop on their cruise, but I also kind of have to balance, like, you know, I'm turning 40, so all my friends are having 40th birthdays, and if they're not turning 40 this year, they're having it next year. So then I got a wedding, you know, so like I gotta go to a friend's wedding next year, like early 2025. So it's like I gotta balance all these cruises and life as well as travel goals. So yeah, it's you have to kind of come in a very organized fashion, or at least after I need to come in an organized fashion.
So, as a nervous future solo traveler, I just want to know, do you have any tips for a fellow solo traveler that I am getting ready to become, or, you know, any of your most unique cruise experiences, like something that I can take with me on this great adventure I'm about to take?
Okay. I think what helps me get my nervousness out is really like the planning piece and the studying. Like I get obsessive when trip time comes around. I am watching the videos and multiple videos. I usually go and like buy like the Farmer's Guide, not so much for cruising, because I think like a lot of the ports for the most part, they know they have to be on their P's and Q's for the cruisers. So I think, you know, for the most part, you know, the cruise port is going to be what it is. I mean, unless you're going somewhere truly unique. I do have a truly unique cruise experience coming up at the beginning of the year. So I'll probably be doing my obsessive planning because those are not Caribbean ports and in a part of the world that I haven't fully explored. I'm familiar with, but haven't like fully explored. So I will probably like, you know, let me go see what's around, you know, where, like how people are doing the excursions, how people are going certain ways. Because I can watch videos to the point that like I can tell when a driver is not going the right way. Or I can tell, you know, what the pricing is. I can tell, am I allowed to haggle this or am I not allowed to haggle this? What are the, you know, safe spots and not so safe spots? So I think definitely like obsessively, you know, research. I love like a good old Farmer's Guide. But I feel like if for the most part, like cruises are going to like the Caribbean, you know, Alaska is the States, or, you know, the West Coast, Mexico. I think all of those are pretty much, you know, I mean, outside of it was y'all who were talking about the cruise scams. Maybe not, or maybe it was somebody. Again, I watched so many videos, I mix them up. Like the port scams. I think Siobhan, you hit on a little bit about like the monkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff I think is worth, like if you, that's usually for people who are very green, which is okay. We all start at some point, you know, don't let nobody put nothing on you. I usually walk around my hands like this. Like Nassau doesn't scare me because I'm just like, no, thank you, and stick to my ground, keep moving. You engage in a conversation, they don't think that's an opportunity to sell, don't go in nobody's store. That was Morocco, like those kind of things you just kind of learn, but also give yourself like grace to a part of the travel experience is not to nail it, yes, to be safe, not to be stupid, but also, it's not meant to nail it. And sometimes it is worth turning around like, oh, okay, well, you know what? I learned what that hustle is and I'm gonna be prepared for the next time. So.
Right. I would have never thought about like buying a farmer's guide. Like that's real deep. That's really deep. Like I would have never thought that. Now she got a whole shelf of farmer's guide behind her.
Where's my latest one?
This was actually the latest one. I started to try to like purge. I'm sitting here looking because my bookshelf is over here. I know I've given some away. But this is actually the latest one. So it's funny because I flew into Athens. However, I know like Athens is a big launching point. I do have a deposit on like a cruise in the Med. Going back to Athens, this will be helpful. But I like actually Rick Steves giving free tips. He usually gives you a city tour in his guide. And it's a free Audible. You can just play it on your phone, just like you're listening to a podcast. Put one little, and it's, I like to be safe, so I put one pod here, and I got my other ear on the swivel, and you get like a whole like familiarization tour for free or whatever you cost. What was this? $13.99. So I think that like when you start getting into those more what are they called? Exotic ports.
Yeah. So I know you seem to be really familiar with a lot of different areas. Have you ever encountered any challenges while you were on your solo adventures, either cruising or even on a land-based trip?
Oh, yes. That's a part of I guess it's a part of being a traveler. I think cruising, usually things are cool during cruises. I think my most unique experience happened when I was on Carnival Magic. I went live to talk about that. And that was, I got approached by some pineapple people. And I think that one was a little bit like, it takes me a lot to get nervous or scared. But that's when I was kind of like, whoa, like they were paying attention to you more than you were paying attention to them. And that didn't sit well with me. That basically I was on what was it called? I was on a excursion, a snorkeling excursion. They had a beach break. And like while we were swimming around, a guy approached me and was just like, oh, my wife and I think first he said, I think you're beautiful. And I was just like, thank you. And then he was like, my wife and I think you're beautiful. And I was like, oh, this is not going.
Red flag.
Yeah, red flag. And in my head, I'm like, there's no more vulnerable place than like the middle of the ocean and you're in your swimsuit and the waves are like pushing me that way. And I'm like, no. So in that case, it was actually interesting. The person I was sitting next to on the boat was another solo cruiser. So I actually swam over like to her and the tour guide, just distance, and that seemed to kind of, tame the situation down. But it had me reflecting of like, that was like one of the times that I just really think I had my guard was down in cruising because I just never have been like approaching, not even on land based. Hanging out with Sig that one time when I was
was it clear?
That was an interesting moment too, Sig. And the same thing happened back to back. I think it was those braids I had at the time. They were like some burgundy braids. And they were bringing out, I guess, a part of my femininity that the people cannot turn down. I don't know. But outside of that, I think, unique experience. I met like a yacht captain actually in Nassau at this place called the Poop Deck. And I got to tour like a beautiful yacht. I think like solo, it gives you opportunity. I mean, yes, with your wits about you, but it also gives you opportunity. Like sometimes being in the group and in the crowd doesn't afford you. Like you can move as fast as you want. I think people, for the most part, tend to be friendly and approach you and, want to show you what their culture is like. So I think there is a beauty in like being able to move and maneuver. But, always just have your wits about you, might not be the time to be getting, full on sloshed, but I think that was probably one of the more unique. I remember in South Africa, it was probably one of the cultural differences of like, I remember we got kicked out of, and I was with a group of people, we got kicked out of an Uber because like, it was a group of us women and like their men don't have, like, you're not about to like argue with them, And he was like, y'all can get out, and that was a cultural difference of like, whereas, the tone of voice that was used with him may have flew here in the US. He was just like, this is my car. So, being mindful of like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's actually one of the questions we had down, like your approach to handling cultural nuances and language barriers and things like that. So did you have anything more to elaborate on that? Or?
Yeah. Being mindful that we have accents. So even though you might be in a place that speaks English, like I can say, where's your restroom? And actually the word toilet is a little more effective. And you can start learning of like, or washroom is a more known term in like Europe, some parts of Africa, or just saying toilet versus restroom. You're like, where's your restroom? Where's your bathroom? And they're like, what? But that took trial and error and that whole like what face, and then listening to other people. I think a lot of times we just get dropped in these places and we're there for the Instagram moment. And again, we haven't researched. So I just try to come in from a place of humility, definitely learn those key terms. Like I remember my first solo trip ever, and I think I was sparked to solo travel because I got to a certain age and I was like, dang, I haven't been nowhere. And I read Elizabeth Gilbert's like Eat, Pray, Love. And I think that was that like 2009, 2010-ish. And that kind of was sparked like, okay, if folks aren't going to go or no one's asking you to go, like you can do this. So Paris was my first solo trip ever. And I remember I was shopping and I was like having a terrible experience. Like everywhere I went, nobody was greeting me. Nobody was helping me. And I was immediately about to go, say like, it's the racism. And something told me, I bought that dang on Farmer's Guide, and something told me like, go back in the guide and look up shopping. And it's customary there actually for you as a customer to greet the staff. Whereas in the US, we walk into a store and we don't speak, we're expecting people to come and accommodate us. Right. So I was like, okay, let me try this again. I went out the next day and took that advice of walking in, bonjour. I didn't know. Yeah. I had my bonjour down to the pat that they
okay.
I
know that's like, right,
baby. And I was like, I was like, oh wait, no. Like I didn't pass the bonjour. But even that act of like looking it up, trying, I had a much different experience. And literally I went to a consignment shop. It was me and two older French ladies negotiating over an Hermes scarf with a glass of champagne. Like that's one of my like core memories after like researching and figuring out that I was actually doing it wrong. Okay. I'm not saying that like those things don't exist. I have a moment where I looked up one time, I was buying a bag and I'm like, why y'all got 9 security guards on me?
Right, that part.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it is the racism, but in that case, it was literally like I was not familiar with the cultural norms. And once I got familiar, like life was so different. And then I had like one of my like most beautiful travel experiences ever from just taking a moment to reflect and say like, what am I doing wrong here?
Mm-hmm. So Cheryl, why don't you go with the next question?
Yeah, it's like when you're talking, it's like I have so many follow-up questions, and then all of a sudden I had 3 at one time. So I was trying to jot them down, and I already lost one. So,
oh no!
I got 2. So earlier you were talking about, like excursions that you do, and I thought with you being both a land and cruise solo traveler, Because when I go on cruises, I'm hesitant to like other excursions outside of the ship excursions. So with you being a land solo traveler as well, does that affect that? Are you more comfortable with booking like land tours?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that question because I realized I skirted over it. So one of the things that I love to do is anytime it's my first time in a place, I always do make sure that I either one take a like excursion with the ship, and usually excursion is something that's like a city tour. It includes a city tour. So for instance, like St. Martin was country number 33. And like I wanted to be able to say that I've saw enough of St. Martin. So it was like a city, kind of like a city tour. And then it also had, and I also went myself and walked around to like, caught the shuttle over just to kind of walk to see. And then it also like included like a snorkeling excursion. So anytime I go to a new place, I like even like the Athens guy, like I did a city tour. So like now whenever I go back, I feel more like, okay, I did all that. I'm oriented, like I know what are the different spots, at least the hot spots in regards to, okay, the historic sites are here. This is the club district. This is the shopping district. And then that way I can get like more immersed. So I would say like whenever you do ports, try to get like the city, whatever element has like a city tour in it just to orient yourself. Usually too, that also helps like the cultural aspect of like learning the history. Like I hate for people to go places and like, okay, what did you learn? Like y'all, people want to, I'm not picking on y'all, but like, people want to, because it really bothers me people don't like Nassau. Because I would say like, right. It's like one of my number one spots. I would say Nassau is probably one of my number one ports too, because I feel like Nassau has all the things you want right in a, like you could literally walk from Paradise Island, which I actually did one time, to like Junkanoo and then beyond to the fish fry. And that's pretty much the core of Nassau. So it's like, well, have you got the history, before you start beating up on some of these places and putting your mouth on them and saying you don't like it. So at least always want to be like, I know the history. And then I try to do that. And then usually if I go back, then I start doing more, like I might feel more comfortable going on my own, or I might feel comfortable trying an independent excursion. But at least I want to know that everywhere I went, I have some element of their history that I'm familiar with.
Like I'm happy you brought up the Nassau thing, because I remember when we put out the video about 3 reasons to stay on the ship in Nassau. C was one of the people who's like, thank y'all for not putting that on. I'm tired, like Nassau unsafe. I'm so glad y'all didn't put that.
I'm so over it. I can get, and I totally understand being tired. Like I am now probably tired of going to Nassau. And I do feel like when I went on the Carnival Sunshine, I actually stayed on the ship. Like, so, but it wasn't like I stayed on the ship because like I am terrified. Right. Whenever I get out the gate, it was like, okay, I've been here several times, but this ship is new to me. But yeah, I don't get that piece. It's one of the safer, islands that I've ever. Yeah. Even that, like that Newport, I think kind of helps with some of that. For people, and I do think like there are people who, and I have to be mindful, like I am from Chocolate City.
People that ain't got that.
That don't like, you know what I'm saying, walking through a corner with a bunch of Black men who probably talking aggressively to one another, and there's gambling, and there's somebody selling lotion, that doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. Where I can see someone who's like, first time on a ship from middle America, and there's people who are like, do you want a taxi? Do you want an excursion? Do you want this? Do you want that? Could be very overwhelming for them. But I would say like, give it a try, because now Nassau has that whole new beautiful port. It actually redirects folks in a interesting way. However, something I've been watching and mindful of is I'm nervous that new port setup is going to impact some of the local economy in regards to like, because people were getting some of those hustle deals, right? Of like, are people still going to go to straw market like they used to? Because you kind of get redirected around it. It's kind of like if you follow the path, it shoots you right out at Senor Frogs. Right. So I would be mindful of like, these are the islands are heavily related, like relying on tourism. I'm not saying get scammed, but I'm just saying be mindful of like, some of those new things it's going to have an impact on people who've been vending there for years.
Yeah. Sig, you said you had 2 follow-up questions. So what's the other one?
Remember the first one. So yeah, one of them I lost. Maybe it'll come back to me later. So what I wanted to ask, okay, when you are on the ship truly solo, because we know how Carlene is on the ship, but when you're there by yourself, what type of solo cruiser are you? Are you one to stay off to yourself, or do you seek out other people to talk to, or how are you?
I actually lean towards being by myself, but I end up meeting people. And one of the things that I jotted down is so funny, like Carnival Valor and MSC Meraviglia. I just swore up and down those are going to be like two ships that, like, I wasn't going to connect with anybody. Mm-hmm. And it was wild. Like MSC and Carnival actually sat all the solo cruises together. And so, like, the Valor, after the first night of dinner, we were like, the group that was at the table, we were like, okay, let's go to the piano bar. Let's meet up tomorrow for brunch. MSC, actually, on Meraviglia, we had like 2 tables of solo cruisers. And I noticed that they even broke us down by age. So I was like the older millennial table. And then there was like a younger table. They were a little rowdy. But like, as a group, we were kind of like together. That actually kind of spurred off of, it was like a 2-part thing. They had an unhosted meetup, which is not great. I think cruise lines, you need to facilitate something. Unhosted does not work for any, like, people need that facilitation. But it was one cruiser who was actually walking around the pub where they were having the event. And she was just like, are you solo? Are you solo? Are you solo? And she's like, we're sitting over there. And that actually got the group to come together. But I have been on cruises where like they had the unhosted meetup and there's no connections made. But I noticed Carnival and MSC have, I've been 2 situations where I like marked myself as by myself and ended up being sat with solo cruisers. And yeah.
I'm curious how Sig would react if somebody walked up and was like, are you solo? We sitting over there.
Right.
I would love to see.
I actually see Sig being the one to be like, "Are you here? Are you here?"
Exactly.
Yeah, that I can see.
It takes both. It takes some introverts and it takes some extroverts. The extroverts will bring us in. So I would have said, yeah. If she said, hey, we're sitting over here, so I know there are other people there, I would have been like, yeah. But if she came up to me and said, hey, I'm solo, are you? And I would be like, no,
Yeah, it was so weird. It was like we knew that the amount of people in that bar, we knew that like people had to be there. But it was funny because she said the same thing. She said usually she wouldn't do that. And it was just something about the cruise atmosphere. She just said she's like, well, since I'm here, like I'm not going to be here and just leave. And she's like, I know there are people in here. And actually, it was funny because I think she was going around saying, are you solo? And there was a couple who were like, no, but like, we're going to come over and talk. So that was our meeting spot. Like how y'all were hanging out at 1900 Bar on Icon. We knew that if we walked past the pub on Meraviglia at about like 7, 8 o'clock at night, that somebody from the solo pack was going to be there on Meraviglia. So that's good.
Wow, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, those unhosted, when they just put a sign there and say, solo, that doesn't.
Yeah, stop doing that, cruise lines, because it opens you up for safety. With somebody, always feel comfortable to be like, yeah, I'm solo, and this person has no name tag. So cruise lines, stop doing unhosted meet and greets.
Cut it out. Siobhan, you look like you got a question too. What's your question?
So I do want to know, are there any specific cruise itineraries or regions that you would recommend to a solo traveler looking for a diverse cultural experience?
Whoa, a diverse cultural experience.
A diverse one.
Because I would say like, is this your first time solo, then do like something that has like Nassau on the private island, just to like get it shaking, like get the wiggles out. But if you want like a diverse cultural experience, actually, I would say I actually put a client on a ship that had a Jamaica. Was it Ocho Rios? It was an Ocho Rios, Grand Cayman, and Grand Turk. It's like 4 different places, but I think that gave a range of like experiences. And she actually was able to do like she did an independent excursion. She was like, I went out on the port and found $20 excursions. And that's what she did at all 4 ports for her birthday. So, and she was actually with someone, but she said it felt like she was a solo cruiser because the lady that she was with, she wasn't as comfortable doing that. And the person it was her birthday. The person who coordinated, it was her birthday. So she was like, look, I'm gonna make the most of it. But it was actually whatever the itinerary that we did for MSC 2.0. I can't remember all 4 ports, but there was 4 ports. It was a week-long cruise. And it was like Jamaica, it was Ocho Rios, Jamaica, Dominican Republic. Was it them? No, Grand Cayman, Grand Turk. Something was like, but it was a diverse like array of ports. And I think that was like really like show the diversity of the Caribbean, and still like safe places that no cruisers, like expect cruisers. But yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily like say, hey, first time cruiser, you need to like get on this like, a world cruise, or even go to the Mediterranean. Because something that I learned watching MH Family Adventures was like the Med, I didn't realize I'm learning like you don't get dropped off in a cute little port with like dancers and music and cocktails. Like you get dropped off in like a shipyard, very industrial, and then you're riding like 2 hours to get to civilization, or an hour to get to like whatever the beach experience is. So I would say like try to do a diverse Caribbean experience first, or diverse Caribbean experience first.
Yeah,
I'm the other port. Yeah.
Even like when you talk about the Med, remember when Jen posted her Mediterranean experience, she said the same thing, like how she was a little nervous about the ride, where she was going and getting dropped off, and was they gonna show back up to pick her up and that kind of stuff.
And I'm I've been a lot of places. I'm nervous about the Med. And actually, my first Mediterranean, unless I sneak something else in, is that my first Mediterranean? Yes. Will actually be with a group, because I'm like, you got the diverse ports, and you also have the diversity of European cruisers, and I also know like the folks love the tan women, and that has
it's Beyonce.
Okay, everybody Beyonce.
So I'm actually kind of leaning towards I want to do the Med on a cruise. I want to do that one with the group before doing that one solo. However, I am doing a solo itinerary, which I don't know. Y'all want a Cruise Kibitz like exclusive?
We love exclusive.
You do.
Usually, I only do my announcements on like my Monday meetup, but I have fully booked, so I do feel comfortable unless something major happens. But I have a 7-day desert days on Celestial Journeys. And that's like Bahrain. I've done Dubai before, but it'll stop in Dubai. Some places I can't even pronounce. So that one I am a little nervous because like Celestial Journeys doesn't seem like the cruise ship that has like all the pomp and circumstance. It's literally like a smaller ship that's mostly like a European based ship. So, and then very exotic ports. Like I don't know what it's like to cruise the I guess it's the Middle East. I'm bad at this stuff, geography. But so that one is one that I'm going to be like, I'm going to have my Frommer's guides. I'm going to be like probably sticking to the whatever excursions are from the ship. So yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend that to like a first time solo cruiser.
No, because I'm actually going to watch to see how you navigate it before I try.
I'm already like nervous thinking about it. I'm a little. That's gonna be an interesting one because I do have nervousness.
That would be great to see, though. Yeah,
that would be. You have such a wide array of travel experience between all these different countries and different cruises and everything. So, in all of your travels, can you share any memorable moments with like locals that left a lasting impression on you?
I'll start with my favorite place in the world, South Africa. It's just something about that place. Like the sun hits different there. You see the alleged feed the children commercials, and then you go, and not that poverty is not there, but there's also like, that's not when you land on the continent, that's not what you see. That was also my first moment on the continent. So it's like beautiful folks in regards to like, they spend the whole December like partying and enjoying family. So like, definitely some unique perspectives there. I guess another beautiful moment was in Italy. I was on an excursion to Pompeii by myself, and this wasn't a local, it was actually an American woman. and she saw how I was dressed, and she was like, "You're an American waiting in line for the bathroom." And I was like, "I am." And I think the first day I had like sat and like not talked to anybody, or actually a trip that I was just very quiet, and I started getting to the point that I was like, I want to talk to somebody. So I actually like hung out with like her and her boyfriend afterwards, like hung together for like the rest of the excursion at Panel Pay after our bathroom break. And that's how I got like some good pictures. And then like she just showed me like a part of like Rome that I probably would not have ventured to if I were truly someone. But I think like most places, if you just sit, somebody's gonna like start talking to you. They want to like show you places. But I think that one thing about travel is like so many unique like humanity moments. Like even like Greece, I arrived, I missed something happened. My flight into DC was delayed, which had me delayed getting over. And I'm literally like trying to catch a cab at like 1:00 in the morning in a place I've never been. And the driver, like, God bless him, like he knew to like, no, I am going to make sure that you like get into your hotel. Like he knew like this could be a scary situation for me. So, those kind of moments of humanity, like I think we see all the ugly things over and over again on TV of like, this crazy thing happened. But I think for the most part, people still have some good in them. And yeah, just open yourself up for those moments and, keep your eyes peeled. But for the most part, I think people genuinely like want to help.
There's still a little bit of good in people. I like it.
Okay. I got one more. Thailand. I got pink eye in Thailand, but it was a beautiful experience.
Oh wow.
A lady like offered me a blessing, and like it was just kind of like really nice. However, I ended up partying and didn't wash my face when I got back to the hotel, and like next morning I was stuck. But like the fact that she was just like, I want to bless you. And then I ended up having like the best chicken noodle soup ever of life off like a street vendor. So, those kind of things, because sometimes that is a blessing with the curse, but
yeah.
Oh wow.
Still sounds like a win. So
yeah, it was a win. I should wash my face. Wash your face when you get home.
Cheryl, I know you were jotting down questions over there. You got more questions?
I have a question. It's a 2-part question. So when you're packing, first of all, are you team carry on, or are you team Kiki, a bag per day? And then part 2 of that is like, what kind of packing tips do you have for solo cruisers so that they're prepared for like diverse climates? So
yeah, is there a middle? Like I have not fully mastered.
Yes.
I have not fully mastered like team carry on. But like I am still the grumpy person. Like if I go on a group cruise, I will say this is one of my qualms about like group cruises. I'll play along nicely, but I hate all the theme nights. Because honestly, like I want to just put on a pair of shorts, I want to be raggedy. Like I live a life where like any given moment, sometimes I have like, put some makeup on, get a hair down, and like throw on some clothes and be out the door. Mm-hmm. So like the moments I have to just be like, I am out here on this Lido deck with whatever, looks like it's clean. That's what I want to do. But I am also like just trying to be practical. So like if I know I'm going to a place where like I might be going to nightlife, I might just bring one set of pumps that matches everything versus like multiple set of pumps. I bring one purse. I have like a travel purse, and like that's the one, Yeah. Now it's like my camera bag actually. So I'm using fashion points for functional, but I'm like not gonna, carry both. No, if you're going to a cold climate, my mom actually blessed me with this, and my mom is such a good gift giver because I was running my mouth like I am now. And I mentioned like I need a jacket for something, and she bought me like this really nice packable jacket that like keeps you warm, but it doesn't take up a lot of room in your suitcase. So that of course like like anything that you need for comfort, like I use my travel scarf. I have like a big scarf that kind of makes its way as a blanket because some places don't have as warm. I'm a person that I need to feel like I'm tucked in. Mm-hmm. So I use that as an extra layer sometimes on my bed. Of course, like the little, what's it called? The money pouch, in places. That's my go-to under my clothes. So yeah, I kind of like try to just pack like enough for like to get me through days. I just enough that I don't want to wash clothes if I can avoid it. I try not to. But I want to be practical where it's not like, I mean, I literally have been on places, I was Morocco, where like you had 5 minutes to get your butt off that train before it starts moving again. And so like, oh, that was a beautiful humanity moment. It was some ladies in a train car in Morocco who were like, they had the one lady who knew how to speak English and she was translating for all of us. But anywho, they were like, this is your stop. And I was like, oh. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to be practical because some places aren't like ADA compliant. You might not have a lift. You might not have the ability. Some places don't have. I've been planning for another land-based trip. I had to be mindful of there's some places that don't have elevators. There's some places that don't have air conditioning. So yeah, it's like you got to be efficient because you don't know. It might be you lugging your luggage up a flight of stairs, or back down home, or maybe it's not, the driveway isn't accessible and you got to get it to wherever the car is. So, so I try to be practical and cute if I can, but more towards practical because cute makes me overpack.
See, that's the thing. I be wanting to be cute and I want all of the things that make me comfortable. And when I put it all together, it ends in 7 bags. I don't understand. So as a seasoned traveler, have you noticed any changing trends or developments in the cruise industry over the years?
Outside of it getting more expensive.
Yeah, that part.
And the ships keep getting bigger. I think there's a variety of folks who are trying cruising now. So I think you're starting to see like diversity in cruising. Like it's no longer just the thing that older retired people do, but they're really making it something for everyone. Even like entertaining like non-couple, like solos, like that kind of thing. I think is a trend. I think we are starting to see, or maybe it's just I'm starting to notice like more like ports experiences. Like I know Virgin's really like tapping into that, but not just giving like the old, again, rugged ship, but like they're trying to get like cute ships to get to like the newer places. So I think that kind of more of the yacht vibes versus like the cheesy cruising. I like cheesy cruising. I don't want to just be laid out like on the deck. Like I need some music and people to entertain me. So I think it's probably, outside of the big ships, I think we're starting to see maybe like diversity in population where it's like we're not just going to go for the people who are honeymooning and retire. We're going to try to make something on a ship for everyone.
So Siobhan, do you have any more questions for Carlene?
I do. I have one last question, and I want to go back to, because this is the question of the year. We all unfortunately gave all our money to Royal at the beginning of the year, and you were the smart one who saved your coins. So my question to you is, you made a plan to be in the number without having to spend the number, and you came up with couch cruising. I want to know the idea behind couch cruising, because I have to tell you, you had all of us on the ship in the book about couch cruising and how we could be involved in it and how the concept came about. We got to know.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've been watching all y'all's videos. And it's so funny. Like I can hear my voice in the background of like y'all phone streaming. So thank y'all for supporting, because honestly, like couch, it would not have been what I fully envisioned. Because like I was about to like do this wall and try to do a whole setup, and then I was just like, no, like just turn the camera on, but y'all made it come to life with bringing content from the ship, and I think that was the element that really drew people in. But like I try to everything. I'm an educator by training and decor. I've been talking to somebody about like purpose all day, and they were like, what do you think your purpose is? And I was like, my purpose is like, I think like educate and inform people. Like that's where I find great joy, and I seem to do really decently at it. But like, in studying like the whole YouTube thing and how people were saying like, how do you kind of branch out? It was like, you have to establish credibility. And for me, I just felt like watching my channel and my numbers, like I feel like I have great knowledge and I study things and I'm always like taking in information, you know.
Yeah.
But like I never had an opportunity to like just sit and talk to people, and I know that is a strength of mine. So after I kept like I think I canceled Icon out of my cart a couple of times, so I will say almost succumbed. I almost succumbed, but it just wasn't feeling right. But I knew like I had like other just, you know, goals for like travel. But I wanted to, if anything, establish that credibility piece with the cruise community of like, you know, here's what I have to say about travel. So that piece was lingering in my back of my head. And then I was watching the whole on TikTok. Hopefully it will become the app formerly known as TikTok. We'll see.
Right.
But there is this young lady, her name is the CT director on TikTok. And she has gained like millions of followers by just talking about the world cruise. And what she does every day, she does a daily vlog on the world cruise. And I just watched how much like sensationalism was behind that and how many people were like engaged by this lady just literally not being there, but turned on her camera. And her name is ND, the CT director. But being engaged in all her content. So then, you know, as we kept getting closer and closer to Icon, and then I think I started watching Icon videos, and I was like, okay, how do I turn this moment of me just watching people to like making it something? And then so it kind of all came together of like, okay, you want to establish credibility in the, you know, in YouTube, and then you also, you know, want, you know, to drive traffic, and but you also don't want to miss this Icon opportunity because it was an opportunity. You know, how do you just do that? And I was like, well, shoot, since everybody's gonna be on the ship, I'm gonna at least go live nightly. And that's what I settled in on. And it did well. Instead of me fully repainting this wall and making a more lovely studio, I bought a $15 hat off of Amazon. I scheduled live. I told y'all as my friends, like, hey, can you just, I don't know what this is gonna be, but can you just like this video to get the algorithm pumping? And it was amazing that like people tuned in, and I didn't click off because I thought like, okay, they're going to click on this video link and it's not going to be somebody on Icon MSC. It's going to be somebody on their couch with the cream wall. And the fact that y'all like tuned in, Siobhan, you gave me clips, and Alicia, shout out to her. I know she's got like a full YouTube channel, but she was like trying to get me on the elevator with the singing guy. And then, you know, like that was a beautiful moment. And then Kiki, like y'all were giving me the exclusive with the dang on car crash. Like,
right.
So, you know, I thank y'all for making it come to life. So then it had me thinking of like, I have truly developed a lane of, I plan on getting on the ships. I don't have to break my neck to get on, hopefully, you know, branded. Like I don't have to get on any Inagra if I don't want to. And I can literally, you know, have a conversation, build a community by people who are doing exactly that. Like that's you said, either you're on YouTube for an escape from reality or to be informed, right? So our escape is like, oh, I'd rather not be in this house right now. I'd rather be on that ship. Well, then how can I make this, you know, all these people who feel that way come together and talk? So that's the birth of couch cruising. I'm looking forward to doing it again if I can't get on certain ships. But then I also, like, I think you all noticed, expanded it to like topics. So first thing I kind of played around, I wasn't on the couch, but I played around with like, well, we're all watching this one video, you know, and talking about how do we, you know, can we build community around that? Or like the MSC group cruise, you know, a lot of folks weren't able to make that one, but we're very interested. So like, okay, since all y'all people, like not y'all, but like there are people who like, you know, like G and Regina and Phil who are like, dang, we all at home, like let's couch cruise just to be together because we can't be together on the ship like we usually are. So I'm excited that this a thing. I plan on keeping it going. I need to figure out, you know, trying to still do some tweaking and experimenting, but that's the birth of couch cruising.
Well, we loved it.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah, Brandon was like, "You're in a show right now, but you're couch cruising." I was like, "And I am. I'm watching the show, and I'm couch cruising." I was like, "I was on the ship, and I still needed to be a part of it." And I don't know why that was a thing, but I just, I
would wake up. Literally, I would wake up, and like I would have like the week, the itinerary. It's all the things people wanted to see. Like people wanted to see y'all at dinner, and people wanted to see what's the itinerary for the day. Like, and I'll wake up and y'all would have this stuff to me on my phone. And I was just like, okay, like let me upload this to YouTube to get it ready for StreamYard, and how I'm gonna play this to get the audio just right. Mm-hmm. And people were like to see Rover. People like gobbled it up because I think Siobhan, you might have been the first to look at Rover. Yeah. Like nobody had laid eyes on this dog called Rover.
It was a really, really cool thing. Honestly, like I had fun too. I was tuned in. I was at my specialty dining spot, like with my phone out, watching Carlene on the couch cruise. And it helped connect people on the ship too, because I had not met Alicia yet until she jumped in your live on the couch cruise. And then I saw her on the ship and I was like, hey, you was just in Carlene's live. So you was making connections on the ship too.
I never met Alicia. Like I had always saw her name in the chat. So then for her, so then like one, if we don't leave anything, like let's put the social back in social media. You know, like we can't as creators just settle on our personality being the draw. People want to engage, and people also want to share the knowledge that they have. So like, you know, I always see Alicia in the chats, like the fact that she came up, and like Mike, I had never met Mike the traveler, like outside of, I think he commented on like a Margaritaville SC post, never met him. And he came up, and the fact that like, I was comfortable with him coming up because I saw your name. You ain't crazy. Like, you're not about to be going. Like, you know, come on up and chat. You know, that was, again, building connection with people that we never know we might cross paths in person, but we are all a part of this cruise community. So, you know, keep the social with social media.
Yeah, it definitely played on the relatability aspect of social media too. Because can people relate more to being on the ship right now, or can people relate more to being at home on their couch watching everybody else?
Right,
you played that very well.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, like, when you first started, I mean, you talked about, you know, somebody told you to, hey, just pick up a camera and, you know, just show your adventures. So what at that time, so you had no idea or thoughts about just doing a channel. You just were just like many of us starting and just showcasing like your adventures. So when did it turn for you to say, hey, you know, this, maybe I can make something more of this?
Yeah, and I forgot. Yeah, so actually I started probably with that my first trip to Paris, and it was actually a written blog. Okay. And I had like just a camera snapping pictures. My goal was to like not create itineraries, but basically like say, like, here are the places that I went when I was here. Here's what it was like, you know, those kind of things. And like, it was literally a written thing, and it was called The Society. And I let the URL expire, but that was like the initial, like, even start of my Instagram. That's where most of my following, you know, it's only 1,000, but like that was where the following came from. It was a blog. And then even then, my homegirl, she was like, yo, you need to do a video element. Well, I am not tech savvy. I always laugh and say I'm an old millennial. Like I was, so when she said it, she think it was this thing called YouTube. I was like, yeah, I don't got. Like I want to type. I was using WordPress, you know, and then you have to code and all. It was tough. So then, of course, I became not as consistent with that. But I was still like, you know, trying to like upload on Instagram. But then I became like too cool for Instagram. I didn't want people to know where I was, you know, that kind of thing. So then fast forward to the pandemic. And I think, you know, just kind of being in our own bubbles, I was just like, I was actually traveling during the pandemic. Like I covered a lot of ground during the pandemic. I should have had my camera on then. But I would watch folks, you know, and then one of my friends who like lives very close would like sometimes like I would just keep the front door open, like to get sun and feel connection to outside. So he would drive past my house. He would just like, you know, wave, checking on me. And he like every time he would stop by, he was like, you keep watching these people, like you can do this. You do this. And I was just like, okay. So I had one failed attempt at which I'll share with my channel members. I had one failed attempt. I had got a $25 cruise on Carnival Pride. And that actually like reignited my like cruise. Like I had did a couple cruises with my cousins. I had 3 cruises under my belt before getting on Carnival Pride. I had a $25 cruise. And I was like, okay, maybe this is my like end to it. And then I quickly learned like how, cumbersome recording everything can be. because I didn't get past the first day because I was just like, I'm a be in the moment person. Like even now I have to remind myself, like, you got to turn this on for the blog. So that was a failed attempt at blogging. And then I tried again for Enchantment of the Seas. And even though I didn't remember didn't know which way to turn the camera the whole time, I got finally enough content to make it through. So essentially what I did was I turned to society, which was supposed to be like, what's the T on society? Like where to go, what to do. I turned that into like, see it with C, where like, I want you to see it with me. Because I'm, again, kind of coming from how I like learning about travel of like, I need to see it. I want to know what's all the things, where to go, where to stay away from, what people's perspective are. So I like to like show, like all the places of the ship, but also you get to see like how I'm interacting with people and other things. So then basically that I turn into a digital element or a video element. And then after Enchantment of the Seas, I've been pretty consistent vlogging since. But I had one failed attempt because I was like, this is tough to get that much content and you're just chronically filming. It's a lot.
It has been quite an exciting journey leading up to that. And now we hear all the things that have come since Enchantment. We love everything that we see on the channel. We love the couch cruise, of course. And it's just been a great time sitting there hanging out with you and chatting. And we got through all our questions in an hour. This is record breaking.
And a bonus.
Right. And speaking of bonus, that is the last thing I will say. You already shared a really exciting update about the cruise that you have coming up with Celestial. Do you have any other exciting updates that you want to share with our audience?
I do have an announcement. I'm going to my first group cruise soon. That's just exciting.
Exclusives.
It's called the Good Government Getaway, a play on what my life is like. It revolves around those good government holidays we all like to sneak away. So I'll be announcing fully in March. But it's good. You got a good year and a half to plan because I know that the group cruise streets are a little packed. So hopefully, I'm planning on at least making it like an annual thing if possible. Rotating holidays, maybe that will help too with, just people not feeling like, okay, you can't get this one or one holiday doesn't work for them. So yeah, it's called the Good Government Getaway and it's coming to you in March.
Awesome. Look, I can't wait to hear more about it. So, Siobhan, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of us if they have questions for Cruise Kibitz, if they have a question for C, any of that kind of stuff. Why don't you let people know how they can contact us?
Awesome. So if you want to get in contact with us, you can comment on the bottom of this video. You can email us at Cruise Kibitz, that is Cruise, Kibitz, @gmail.com. You can message us on Instagram or you can follow us on all of our social media platforms. That is Sid, the Solo Cruiser. That is Team Reach Travels, and that is Parkers on the Go. And if you would like to get in contact with our beautiful guests, Sid with C, let them know how they can get in contact with you.
Sure. So my biggest presence is on YouTube and See It With C. You also can follow me. I try to use Instagram where it's like a play-by-play. So when I'm actually out cruising, I try to like provide the little like tidbits and snapshots there. And then I also have See It With C Travel Boutique on Facebook. So Facebook, Instagram, and of course YouTube are my predominant channels. And should you want to more businessy stuff, See It With C @gmail.com. Happy to talk about collaborations. I am gonna hopefully, Lord bless, make sure I help the creators who I want to build partnerships with people who are on the cruise ships when I do couch cruising. A lot of you all did that out of the kindness of your heart. But I want to be able to almost hire. I don't want to say hire because it's not gonna be a lot of money, but be able to provide a couch cruise stipend to make sure I get that content, nail it the way I want to nail it. So that is coming soon. So if you are going on an interesting inaugural or interesting cruise, those of you who are doing maybe Uber Sota or some rock and roll cruise or something unique that you think the couch cruises might be interested in, hit me up at cwc@gmail.com and we can talk about some things.
All right. Well, I think we've covered just about everything. I don't know. Cheryl, what do you think?
I say Pew, pew, pew. Let's call this a podcast.
That's a new one.
It was very exciting.
Oh, we just gotta cut it. Happy cruising, y'all. Happy cruising.